Dear friends, wish you a very, very happy feast of Saint Ignatius. And on this occasion of the feast, I'd like to share with you a few reflections, especially on the life of Ignatius after his conversion. As soon as Ignatius changed his way of life from a soldier in the army to a soldier in the army of the Lord, he always said to himself, the saints were of the same frame as I, so why should I not do as they have done? And from that moment onwards, what was most prominent in his character was not, as in many people, the instinctive inclination to please others or to satisfy others' desires, nor even the desire to satisfy oneself at the expense of others. There was always, at the basis of his personality, a great ambition. And that ambition was the necessity to be everywhere the first. Billy Graham has a very meaningful story which is entitled, Let Go. He talks of a little child who was playing one day with a very valuable vase. And the child put his hand into it and could not withdraw it. His father too tried his best, but all was in vain. They were thinking of breaking the vase when the father said, "Now, my son, make one more try. Open your hand and hold your fingers out straight as you see me doing, and then pull." To their astonishment, that little boy said, "Oh no, father, I couldn't put my fingers out like that, because if I did, I would drop my penny." Well, all of us maybe smiled at this incident, but thousands of us are like that little boy. We are so busy holding on to the world's worthless penny that we cannot accept liberation. And so, Saint Ignatius, from his experience, he is begging each one of us to drop the trifle that is in our heart. And he's saying, surrender, let go, and let God have his way in your life. Saint Ignatius had to encounter many, many difficulties. He had to give up several things to his life, which he had to orient towards the Lord. And it is a thrilling adventure of his spiritual journey, which is recounted in several places. First of all, in his autobiography, then partly in the spiritual exercises, in the constitutions of the Society of Jesus, and in his spiritual diary. But the major part of it is a secret that he recounts to us between him and his Lord. There is an ancient Jewish story which concerns a boy who went to the synagogue every day. And his walk carried him past a fruit store, which was owned by an atheist. Now, as the boy went by, the owner of that shop, that atheist, taunted him. And one day, he told the boy bluntly, "You're wasting your time studying about God." And he said to the boy, "I'll give you this big red apple if you can tell me where God is." The boy thought for a minute and then said, "Sir, I'll give you 2 big red apples if you can tell me where God is not." The faith that that boy manifested, St. Ignatius tells us, is reflected in Psalm 17, which St. Ignatius made his very own. And he said, O Lord, you know my heart. I have obeyed your command. I have always walked in your way, and I have never strayed from it. Hide me in the shadow of your wings. Deadly enemies, he says, are around me now. Wherever I turn, they are watching for a chance to put me down. But St. Ignatius' experience could be ours also. We could have a similar experience if we can only make a retreat under the guidance of Ignatius and discover all the wonderful horizons of a truly spiritual life. Ignatius is only an example, each one of us, to tell us that nothing is impossible for God. In God, everything is Him possible, as they say, provided there is that grace which goes accompanying us and that goodwill that must exist in each one of us. How can we also give ourselves? Holman Hunt tells us that he had printed a beautiful picture in which Christ is seen standing in a garden at midnight. He is holding a lantern in one hand, and with the other he is knocking at the door. Now a friend of the artist said to him, Holman, you have made a mistake in that picture. The door you have painted does not have that handle. And Holman tells him, it is not a mistake, because that door is the door of the human heart, and it can only be opened from the inside. Yes, it is true. All of us will have to open that door to let God in. For years, maybe, for ages, He has stood outside the chamber of our hearts, knocking at the doors, asking us to let Him in. When shall we get up? When shall we open that door? And when shall we let God in? Chesterton has so wonderfully said, the Christian faith has not been tried and found wanting. It has rather been found difficult and left untried. So today, let us pray, each one of us, that we might learn from this Saint Ignatius to abandon ourselves and to let God have His plan in our lives.
ताराज प्रेम नवमणोमा धीरे धीरे खेचायो छूं ताराज प्रेम नवमणोमा धीरे धीरे खेचायो छूं ताराज प्रेम नवमणोमा धीरे धीरे खेचायो छूं केवी तारी कृपा छे प्रभु केवी तारी कृपा छे प्रभु हूँ तुझमां भींजायो छूं ताराज प्रेम नवमणोमा धीरे धीरे खेचायो छूं ताराज प्रेम नवमणोमा धीरे धीरे खेचायो छूं